So Sony have just announced a brand new lens in their G range. It's this, the 24-50 f2.8 G lens. And as you can see, this is nice and small, it's nice and compact. That's kind of the idea with this lens. It is very, very small, lightweight. It's very easy to maybe to travel with, to fit on the front of something like this, the A7C II, which is what I've been pairing it with. That's a fantastic setup if you do want to keep a nice compact system. But this is really interesting for a lot of reasons. We're going to get into the specs and how the lens feels and how it is to actually shoot with and the image quality and all that kind of stuff. But the number one thing that I was thinking when Sony actually sent this out for review was that there's already a lot of lenses within this space, within this focal range, in the Sony ecosystem. It's starting to feel a little bit crowded. So who is this lens for? And does it really fill a gap that exists? Is there a gap for this lens in the market within that kind of Sony ecosystem? And it's an interesting one, right? We've got the 24-70 G Masters, that's f2.8, the Mark II version. That's a lovely, lovely lens. We've got the 20-70 f4 G lens. We've got the 24-105. Great all-rounders. And then we've got this, the 24-50 f2.8, which, yes, is nice and small, lightweight, and that's great. But I was kind of thinking this feels like it's doubling up a little bit in that space. But actually, I think this is probably designed for two different things. Number one, to keep a very small compact system. There's no getting around it. This is extremely small and light. If you want to pop this in not just a camera bag, but any bag, if you're going traveling, this is a great setup, but also with that nice fast aperture, right? So where the 20-70 f4 is a great setup like that as well, it is an f4 lens. This is giving you an f2.8 lens. And the other side of that is it gives you an f2.8 lens, but at a lower cost than something like the 24-70 G Master Mark II. Don't get me wrong, that is a beautiful lens, but this does give you an opportunity to get that faster aperture lens without maybe quite the reach of the 24-70 at a lower price point. So while I initially did think, you know, I don't know if this is a necessary addition to the lineup, and necessary is a strong word, right? There's necessary and then there's necessary. But even so, I do think this probably does fill a certain niche for photographers and videographers who want an f2.8 nice quality, small compact lens without having to spend out for something like the 24-70 G Master Mark II. So with all that said, how does the lens feel to shoot with? What's it like? What's the image quality like? Let's talk about it. Let's start with image quality, which is probably the most important thing with any lens. And as you can imagine, as a G lens, this is lovely. It's really, really lovely. Now, 24-50 isn't quite as versatile as 24-70, but it still allows you to take all kinds of different photos, landscape, portrait, you know, snapshots, street photography. There's loads of stuff that you can do with a lens like this. And of course, video as well. It's lovely and sharp. And I must say it is really lovely and sharp. It does take particularly beautiful images. The resolution, the contrast, the colors, it's all very, very lovely. And it works really well with the Sony Autofocus, which of course you would expect it to. It's a Sony native lens. It's in the G range, you know, not G Master, but G is, ooh, it's still very, very nice. So not surprised by that at all. Of course, you've got that f2.8 nice fast aperture, 11 bladed aperture as well. So the bokeh is nice and smooth if you're going for those out of focus backgrounds. And you've actually got a 19 centimeter close focusing distance at 24mm, which is pretty close. And it's 30 centimeters at 50mm as well, which is not bad at all. It does let you get in pretty close to your subject if you want to. Otherwise, like I say, the main headline I think here is really going to be this size and weight. It is a very nice, small, compact, and lightweight lens. It feels good in the hands. It still feels like a very nice quality lens. The zoom ring is obviously reasonably small because, of course, it's a small lens. It's not going to be massive if the lens itself is not massive. But actually, do you know what? It does feel good, which is important. Some zoom rings are not. They're not the one. This one is still a good size, good enough to be able to use. It is an external zoom, which I think is completely fine. I'm not worried about that at all. I think to keep the lens as small as possible, that makes sense. But then you've got an aperture ring actually on the lens, which I always love to see. You've got a click control as well on the side, so you can have that click on or off for the aperture ring, but I always love to see that on the lens. Otherwise, it's pretty sleek. You've just got the AF, MF control, and then a focus hold button on the side as well. Otherwise, it's pretty much as you'd expect from a G lens. So dust and moisture resistant. We've got the fluorine front coating as well. And then you've got things in the lens that we've seen from recent Sony lenses, like focus breathing compensation, which is great because I think this is not only a good photography lens, this is fantastic for video. I think a lot of videographers are going to find this very useful for shooting different video. 24-50 is still pretty versatile. And actually, at least for me, 24-50 is generally the focal range they'll be playing around with when it comes to shooting most of my video stuff. I use a 24-70 G Master lens actually, which is lovely. But most of the time for video, I am shooting 24-50 roughly, which means that I think this is going to be a fantastic option for that. If you're going traveling, you want to make a lovely travel video. Oh, yes, indeed. This can be very nice. Something like this setup's going to fit in pretty much any bag. Doesn't have to be a camera bag. That makes it really easy to travel with, and you'll be able to get some really nice stuff with it. So while I think, yes, the space that this lens is now fitting into is pretty crowded. There's a lot of lenses to choose from in this space. This does fill a specific need. f2.8, nice and small, not as expensive as the 24-70 G Master Mark II. So if that kind of ticks your boxes, if that kind of works for you, if that's what you want to go for, then there's no denying the image quality and the way this feels is really lovely. Otherwise, you've got things like the 20-70 f4 G lens, which is also a lovely lens, and that gives you a little bit more reach. The trade-off being that it's f4, not f2.8. And of course, the 24-70 f2.8 G Master Mark II, if your budget's a little bit higher. I'll pop a link to all of those lenses down in the description so you can go and check them all out for yourselves. But I've got to say, I've enjoyed using this. I've really enjoyed going around, taking photos with this. It's always nice to have a small, lightweight lens. It just makes for a pleasant shooting experience, and that's important as well. So you can check out this, all those other lenses by following the links down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. There's new content all the time. I will see you in the next video, but until then, as always, thanks for watching.